I love this video I made. Top 20 Pixar movies, part 1. Part 1? Hey audience, welcome to Creeper Invasion. Hey guys, I'm JT, aka Creeper Invasion, and this is my 4th video. I'm gonna lose track eventually. So, last episode left off at a bit of a cliffhanger. Basically, I did the top 20 Pixar movies, but I only did my bottom 10. So this video, I'm gonna be doing my top 10, because, well, if I add them together, it would be like a 30 or 40 minute video, and no one wants to watch that. It's just ranking. It's not that interesting. Please don't leave the video just because I said that ranking isn't that interesting. It's totally interesting. It's totally the best. So yeah, today we are going to be ranking my top 10 Pixar movies. Like the last video, I'm going to put like a little time slot probably around this area, letting you know when you can skip if you want to avoid explanation of why I like a video for, you know, spoiler purposes or something else. You just don't feel interested. Whatever you want, just skip to the time here. I'm assuming I put a time there. I don't know. I'm not me. Wait, what? No, I am. I'm not future me. This is confusing. Also, just a warning, this video is really long. You're probably already checking the time, being like, oh my god, this is like 25 minutes long. On with the countdown. In number 10, we have Toy Story 2. As the title suggests, this is the second installment in the Toy Story trilogy, soon to be a quadrilogy. That's a weird word. And, well, it came out pretty good. Not as good as the first one, but I still really enjoyed it. It was very colorful and creative, especially during the Al's Toy Barn scene. I thought that was really funny and creative and colorful and unique, and I really enjoyed that scene. Also, this movie actually introduces Jessie, Bullseye, and Mrs. Potato Head, all characters that I kind of grew with, and I really enjoyed. I thought all the character development was really good in this movie, especially with Woody, where he finally considers the fact that he's not going to be there for Andy all his life, and that eventually he's going to need to move on, and that maybe it's better to get an early start than a late start. Also, Buzz was great in this movie. I love how you can kind of tell how he is sort of recovering from his space-age time. He's just trying to fit in. And then he starts talking about eating hot schmoes. Man, I love it. Also, this movie kind of starts a trend where it starts off in some fictional place, and it sort of tricks you into thinking that is the whole movie going to be about that. We do this with the Buzz Lightyear video game that Rex is playing, and we sort of think, is the movie actually going to go in that direction? Obviously it doesn't. That would be stupid. Also, unlike its original, with just had the villain of Sid, which wasn't really a relatable character, we actually get two relatable and interesting villains, Al and Stinky Pete, both of which had relatable intentions, and I thought had deeper motives than Sid, who just sort of wanted to blow toys up for some reason. So overall, even if this movie was a little bit weird at times, I really did enjoy all the creativity that went behind it, all the effort that went into it. It was a really good Pixar movie, so I definitely recommend it. Coming in at number 9, we have Coco. This movie was a bit darker than your typical Pixar movie. Still, it had a great sense of atmosphere, and the creativity was off the charts. I loved how, especially Hector, how they sort of show what a skeleton would do, how it moves. I thought the animation was beautiful. I thought the message was great. It was a very entertaining movie. It was very funny, and it actually felt really realistic, despite the fact that it's about, you know, skeletons, you know, coming back to life and stuff. That part's a little less realistic, but I still thought that this movie felt so real. The atmosphere was amazing. All the characters were relatable and funny, and I don't really have much bad stuff to say. Also, let's not forget the music was awesome. Oh my god, it's never gonna get out of my head. Yep, okay, Remember Me. I gotta get this song out of my head. Remember me. I think I'll go to bed. One dead. Remember me. Yeah, those songs are super catchy. It's like The Greatest Showman. You never really get them out of your head. The only thing I really have to complain about is the pacing was very fast. I felt like it sort of glossed over some stuff, like how Miguel just randomly walked into all of his ancestors within like the first 2 seconds of being able to see the people from the land of the dead. But other than that, other than the, slight plot convenience problems, I thought this movie was very entertaining, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone getting into Pixar. Also, before we move on, just want to say this right now. Why does everyone think that Coco is a ripoff of The Book of Life? Just because they're about the same holiday doesn't mean they're a ripoff. And number 8 is the newest Pixar movie, Incredibles 2. I mean, those action sequences were great, top-notch. I don't think any Pixar movie did any action sequences better than they did that, although, to be fair, that is the most action-packed Pixar movie to date, so I guess it's not really a fair comparison. There's another thing I can take away from this movie, it's that the animation was top-notch. It was so realistic and artistic and stylistic, many istics. Istic is at the end of basically everything when you talk about animation. Yeah, the animation department really outdid themselves with this movie. Also, I thought the plot twist with Evelyn being the screensaver was great. It's amazing how Disney can turn such a predictable plot twist into such a great one. Because even though she's sort of looming in the shadows and acting all weird the whole time, you never really expect it's her because she doesn't play a huge role in it. Also, Winston seems much more like the guy that you'd expect to be the guy that's the screenslaver. I thought the whole part where Elastigirl figures out it's her and Evelyn's like, "You are good," and then puts on the goggles, just chills. The atmosphere in this movie was amazing. Yeah, this I can't get enough of this movie. Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate how hysterical this movie is? Especially Jack. Oh my god, he's adorable, but he's also very funny. I thought this movie was very entertaining, and to be honest, I don't think I'll ever get bored of it. My only real problem with this was that the wannabe superheroes seemed a little off. They felt too cartoony and silly and sloppily written to be in this film. With the exception of Crush and Void, I thought they were all really dumb, especially Screech, the owl guy. What's his power? Being an owl? How is that a power? I don't know. Let's just roll with it. Next, in number 7, we have Cars. Now, I'm sure you're all sitting there in front of your screens saying,
"How dare you have Cars at 7? I hate that movie! Lower it down to this right now! I don't know what that means! I don't care! Do it!"
I don't know why I used a British accent for that impersonation. I don't know, it just seemed appropriate. So, I'm sure the big question is, why is this number 7? Here's my answer. It's like 50% because I thought the movie was really good, it was well crafted, that I liked the animation, that I liked the story, that I liked the characters, and another 50% of it is just the nostalgia with this movie. Basically, this movie came out a year before I was born, and I obsessed over it. I would watch it basically every day, and to be fair, this probably would be a bit lower if it weren't for the nostalgia factor. Probably still in the top 10. Like maybe behind Coco, ahead of Toy Story 2 or something. I don't know. Something like that. Then again, this movie is still pretty good in general. I thought that the plot was very nice. It was a sort of a coming-of-age story about an arrogant racer who winds up in a small town and learns a valuable lesson about life, that sometimes there's more to life than just winning, which I thought was a great message, especially because most people that are going to be seeing this movie are just, sort of life is winning is life, because the target demographic is obviously well below my age. It's like 7 or 8. That doesn't mean that I can't watch it, right? I mean, adults watch these movies. Don't judge. Don't you dare judge. Or I will judge you for judging me. And yeah, I know some of you are saying, "Oh, the animation's great, but it's really just super reflective cars that will attract attention." But no, I think the animation's good even when they aren't trying to do super reflective cars. Like Mater, he looks great. He's not super reflective, is he? Also, this movie was pretty darn funny. Lightning and Mater make a great comedic duo, and I thought all the Radiator Springs inhabitants were just really, really great, relatable additions to the movie, and I couldn't have asked for a better set of characters. So even though in the second act it got a bit boring where Lightning's just sort of hanging out, doing nothing, I still thought this movie was really entertaining, and I really enjoyed it, even if most people have a much, less positive opinion of it. Number 6, prepare for another controversial one because it is The Incredibles. Career's over, isn't it? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What? The Incredibles in 6th? What is this witchcraft? And now it's time for my lame excuse for why it isn't in the top 5. I love all of these movies, and this one just happened to be a little bit lower, than you'd expect. It's still very high considering it's 6th out of 20. So, my opinion on this movie. I thought, just like its sequel, all the action sequences were very good, and that it was pretty funny, especially with Jack Jack. Even though he doesn't have such a crazy array of powers in this one, he's still funny, and I really liked him in the short Jack Jack attack. That was just the best. Also, this movie has tons of quotable lines, including, coincidence? I think not! We get there when we get there. And my personal favorite, honey, where is my super suit? Yeah, I'm sorry, that was a terrible Frozen impression. I can't do his voice, I'm sorry, guys. Now, one problem I did have with this is that in the middle, Mr. Incredible is just sort of hanging out with Mirage, talking about how great the food is and all that adult stuff that I don't understand. It got a bit boring for me. For most people, I'm sure it's fine. And I'm sure when I'm an adult, I'll probably appreciate this movie even more than I already do. Also, all the characters were great. I really liked Violet and Dash and Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl and Jack Jack and Bernie, even though he plays a very small part. And Syndrome is easily the best Pixar villain there's ever been. I mean, let's face the facts, he just is. So yeah, as you can see, I'm a big fan of The Incredibles, even though most people do like it more than me. But it was still very enjoyable and fun, original, and to be honest, I'm really grateful that we got The Incredibles 2, because before that, the remains of The Incredibles was that crappy ripoff, the Thundermans. I mean, it was good in season 2, but then it just turned to absolute bullcrap. So yeah, this movie was very funny, entertaining, the pacing was nice, the action sequences were great, and it was just overall outstanding movie. And now for number 5. Oh yes, we have entered the top 5. If you ask me, this might just be the funniest Pixar movie there is. Yet it was so emotional, especially at first, with, Ellie dying. Oh my god, I almost cried. Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't cry, but most people do. And also, well, the story is fairly simple. It was amazing. Basically, a man named Carl who's lost his wife goes out to a place called Paradise Falls where they always dreamed of going, with a stowaway named Carl and a bird named Kevin and a dog named Doug. And there he meets his childhood hero who becomes his arch nemesis because, army of talking dogs and trying to find a bird. Okay, maybe the story wasn't that simple, but the story was great regardless. Carl's childhood hero turned enemy, Charles Muntz, felt like the perfect villain to me. His motives felt very real as he tries to hunt down a bird that everyone believed he was crazy to ever believe in. Also, he's got an army of talking dogs. How can you not love this guy? While the animation felt a bit smooth at some times, I thought that Carl actually looked very great, and that the whole atmosphere was very deep. I thought that South America, the whole area of South America with Paradise Falls looked great. And also, how awesome is it that they're lifting a house with balloons? You do not, that's peak of creativity there. The thing I don't get is how are Charles Muntz's dogs so intelligent? I mean, they're literally piloting planes. Still, the dogs were great, and I loved their one weakness. Twirl! This story was hysterical, but it had so much emotional depth, and it felt very real, and I thought that all the characters were delightful, and I couldn't ask more for a Pixar movie. And at number 4 is WALL-E. Alright, I love Wall-E. The animation, the emotional depth, the funny, well-crafted humor, the very interesting, artistic style of storytelling. It's all great. The plot has a bit more layers than your typical Pixar film. Basically, humans abandon Earth after polluting it to an oblivion, and these little Wall-E bots are left sitting on Earth, cleaning up all the trash, even though the humans aren't coming back anytime soon. It's actually a very dark plot when you look at it. Our hero Wall-E actually seems to be the only Wall-E unit living on Earth, and that's only because of his connection with human resources and how he's collected things over his years of trash cubing, or whatever you'd call it. Wall-E was also a very funny character. I love how even though he's so brave at times, he can also be kind of wimpy, where he's just like so terrified when he first meets Eve. And whenever he's with Eve, he is just amazing, because he clearly has no idea how to communicate with her. He can barely speak, and the whole time he's just like, Eva, Eva, Eva. Also, there's so much said without words in this movie, considering that the first half barely has any dialogue. And also, come on, the beginning of this movie, just amazing. The whole Earth scene with Wall-E and Eve was just spectacular. A couple of people do complain that the second half wasn't nearly as good as the first half, and while I agree the first half was better, I still really liked the part in space. I thought all the robots were really cool. So I don't know what people are talking about when they say they dislike the second half of this movie. I think Pixar just set their standards very high with the first half. Also, the end scene with Wall-E and Eve was just amazing. Like, where Eve repairs him, and she literally blasts a hole in Wall-E's roof because she cannot wait that extra second to get him going. That was just amazing. Also, I'm just going to say it right here. Wall-E is like my favorite Pixar character, which is funny because he barely even talks yet he's so relatable. I love how curious he is, how he's stumbling around collecting these human artifacts, how nervous he is when he first meets Eve, and he clearly has no way to tell her that he loves her. And even though he's a robot, he is such a familiar character. He feels so real. So yeah, overall Wall-E was an entertaining, funny, beautiful, atmospheric movie with tons of emotional depth, and I just thought it was amazing. In third place is Toy Story. This was Pixar's first ever film, and man did they start off with a bang. It was very creative. The animation was great considering, when it was made. It was the first computer animated film of all time, which is a big accomplishment by Pixar. All the characters were great, especially Buzz. I thought it was amazing how he felt like he would not be convinced that he was not a space soldier. What? Space ranger. Space soldier. I just thought the whole idea of toys coming to life and living their own toy lives was just amazing. Like, they literally have a leader, Woody. I don't know why he's a leader. It's probably just because he's played with the most and is the most responsible of them. And they live by a code, and that code is, it doesn't matter how much you're played with. It just all that matters is being there for your owner. And Woody has so many layers. On one end of the spectrum, you can totally see how he's just hoping that Buzz would go away. But on the other side, you can see he's a really nice guy, and in the end, he knows that it's okay if he's not the favorite. Also, I can't think of a single character I dislike in this movie, except for maybe Sid. He wasn't a great villain. His whole character was basically just, I'm evil to toys.
I'm a terrible brother. I also skateboard way too young.
I mean, I'm like 7 and I'm skateboarding. Don't ask me why. I'm weak. But yeah, the other characters were all great. Like Ham, Mr. Potato Head. My favorite character is probably Rex. He fit into the story really well. He was very funny. He was very memorable. He had a lot of great lines. And the whole time, he just didn't seem to understand that he's not scary. Plus, can we just appreciate how awesome the scene where all the toys confront Andy was. It was actually kind of creepy, but I loved that scene. I thought it was very satisfying to watch. It was very creative how all the characters creeped up on him, and the whole escape scene with Woody and Buzz where they finally become true friends. It was a great scene, and I just generally really love this movie. My one problem is there's a bit of plot convenience, like how has Andy never noticed that there's an entire civilization of living toys inside his room? I mean, they are really loud. I mean, Woody literally uses a microphone. Like, how has he not noticed that they're coming to life? Maybe he's just so oblivious. And now our runner-up, coming in second, is Toy Story 3. This is how you do a movie right. The plot of this movie is basically Andy's going to college, and the toys have realized that he's grown up and that they're not really going to get played with anymore. Still, they're willing to give the attic a try and hope that one day he has kids of his own and that he'll play with them again. But then, his mom puts all the toys out on the curb except for Andy, who manages to rescue them from, the trash guy, who, fun fact, is actually sick. But unfortunately, all the toys think that Andy was putting them on a curb intentionally. So they end up donating themselves, which is an interesting thing to do, and they end up in Sunnyside, where they realize it's run by a psychopathic bear named Lotso, stuffed bear. And the second and first half of the third act are basically about them escaping Sunnyside, the daycare that they're trapped in. But the movie gets really good in the third act. That scene in the dump is so memorable, where they think they're about to be burned to smithereens, but they stand together and accept their fates and face death together before the aliens come in and save them, of course. And then that sacrifice that Woody makes, deciding to have Andy donate the rest of the toys. And we think that he's going to college with him. And then I can still remember that scene where Andy hands over his toys without batting an eye. Then he looks into the box and sees that Woody's there too. And with a heavy heart, it gives him up. I thought the ending scene was a perfect conclusion, even though it's not really a conclusion because we're getting a fourth movie, which I'm actually pretty happy about, even though you could argue that it's sort of unnecessary. Still, I will never, ever forget Toy Story 3. This movie was so memorable, it was funny, it was well crafted, and I just can't praise it enough. Before we get to number 1, I'm going to list off some honorable mentions. There aren't any honorable mentions, I listed all 20, so sorry, not sorry. And now for number 1. My absolute favorite Pixar movie is Monsters, Inc. Oh man, is this movie memorable. The animation was excellent, especially considering it was made in 2001. I mean, it put Shrek's animation to shame. I mean, keep in mind, they were made in the same year. I thought this movie was probably the most creative Pixar movie, explaining why monsters supposedly live under our beds or in our closets, and why they must scare the children for their scream energy. Also, Boo was a very cute, funny addition to the movie, and I just love her. She's great. So for those of you who somehow don't know the plot, if you don't, what are you doing with your life? Also, I put skip time up here, so you probably just skip to the credits if you've never seen this movie. So yeah, I'm sure all of you know the story. But the story is actually quite complicated. A monster that has the profession of a scarer, basically they go into the human world or go back in time, depending on whether you think the Pixar theory is right or not, and scare children for scream energy. Find themselves having to take care of a human child who supposedly is highly toxic, except they figure out she's not toxic. So basically, they have to sneak her into work so they can find her door, but they're not very successful when it comes to that, because they ended up getting busted by their number 1 rival, Randall, and their company owner, or Mr. Waterways. The plot was so deep, especially with this scream extractor that Randall had built, where it takes the scream out of the child. I just thought that was amazing. And dark, but also amazing. Also, this movie's very funny, and I love that super creative scene of all the doors, where they're searching for Boo's door and Randall's chasing them. That scene was amazing. but it gets better. That last scene, oh my god, where Sully and Mike end up tricking Waterreeves into having himself filmed saying that he would kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die. And basically, the CDA, the Child Decontamination Agency, is there to watch, and the reaction that they get is just great, where they're just like, all right, get in the truck. I thought it was very funny and clever how they managed to trick him into doing that. And Mike's smugness when he's just like, now let's watch my favorite part, was just priceless. It's priceless. You just cannot put a price on how high quality it is. I, to be honest, don't think I'll ever see another animated movie this good. It's not just my favorite Pixar movie, it's my favorite animated movie ever, probably. Yeah, you heard me. It's my favorite. It's better than How to Train Your Dragon. And that, coming from me, is a big statement. So there you have it, guys. All 20 Pixar movies ranked from worst to best. I hope you enjoyed this video. And feel free to leave a like and subscribe, or leave a dislike and unsubscribe. It's really up to you. And I will see you in our next video. And today's credits go to iMovie. Just like last time, I used iMovie to make this video. It came out really nice. It came out, no offense to Malavi, a lot better than all the Malavi videos. So yeah, I think I'm permanently switching to iMovie. And from here on out, I will be using iMovie. This will be like my official editing thing. For those of you who don't know, iMovie is a really great editing thing. You can download it for absolutely free, I believe, and you can change the fonts of the words that you put on the screen. You can change the theme. You can make nice smooth transitions. You can edit out parts you don't want, all that jazz. So yeah, I think iMovie is definitely a really good editing source for people that don't want a big one on their computer. Anyway, thanks iMovie. You really helped with this video. It was a great video. Thanks for watching, guys. Actually, guys, I do have one more announcement to make. Recently, my friend has started a YouTube channel called Icelandgreens. Check him out at www.youtube.com/Icelandgreens. It's a pretty cool channel. He does mostly geography. He did a Marvel thing recently, so yeah, it's definitely been an interesting channel so far. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Goodbye. I promise this is for real this time. There's no more secret announcements. Or is there?